welcome to another juicy episode of the Love Soul Connection podcast. I'm your host, Meeta, your go to coach for all things love, intimacy, and the stuff most people are too shy to say out loud. And today, oh boy, we're tackling that question which I get asked so often. Does size really matter? Yep, that one. The one that has caused sleepless nights, heated debates, and way too many awkward Google searches. Let's be real. Almost every man has worried about it at some point. And a lot of women have been told they should care about it, even if they don't. So, in today's episode, I want to break it down with you. What really matters in bed? Does size make a difference in satisfaction? Or are we all just stuck in a myth passed down by porn and playground gossip? Let me start with a real life story because I love keeping it real here. A client of mine once told me that she had two partners. One was well blessed, like really blessed. But she said, Meeta, he had no clue what to do with it. It was like a Ferrari with no driver. Her second partner, average size, nothing dramatic. But he listened, asked what she liked, paid attention to her body, and she said it was the best sex of her life. That right there, that's the heart of today's episode. It's not about what you're packing, it's about how you're showing up. We are going to explore what science says, what women actually want, how emotional connection plays a huge role, and how so many people are missing out on real pleasure because they are focused on the wrong thing. So grab your coffee or tea or lover, no judgment here, and let's dive in. Because this conversation is way overdue. Alright, so let's get into the facts, not the fiction. What does science actually say about this? Because while we love a little drama in our love lives, size anxiety doesn't need to be a part of it. Now, listen, science has actually looked into this. Like real researchers sat down and said, okay, folks, let's find out what actually satisfies people in bed. Bless them. One of the most interesting findings comes from a study published in BMC Women's Health. And this one always surprises people. Most women said girth, yeah, the width was more important than the length. Crazy, right? We've all been told to focus on how long something is. But turns out, most vaginas don't care about a measuring tape. They care about connection and pressure in the right spots. Let me give you a real example. One of my clients said she used to think that size mattered until she got into a relationship with someone who was, in her words, not breaking any records. But she said, Meeta, the way he touched me, the way he looked at me, the way he explored me with curiosity, it was like magic. That right there is what we often miss. Sexual satisfaction is not just physical, it is emotional, energetic, and psychological. Another study asked women to rank what made sex great for them. And guess what came out on top? Emotional intimacy, feeling desired, mutual pleasure, confidence, and communication. Penis size? Way down the list. Like not even in the top 5. Also, interestingly, researchers found that women prefer different sizes for different scenarios. Slightly bigger ones for one night stands, and the more average for long term partners. Why? Because comfort, connection, and communication matter more in a relationship. And let's be honest, nobody wants to feel like they've done squats after every bedroom session. So here's the truth. There is no perfect size. There is only perfect for you. And most of the time, it has more to do with how safe, sexy, and seen you feel, not what someone is carrying in their pants. Remember that. Let's pause the anatomy talk for a minute and zoom into the real battleground, the mind. Because honestly, most of the noise around size is less about pleasure and more about ego, insecurity, and misinformation. Let me break it down. A lot of men grow up associating their worth, their manhood, with their penis size. It's wild, right? One body part, and suddenly your confidence, your identity, your desirability, your performance, all of it gets tied up with how many inches you're swinging. And guess where that comes from? Movies, porn, locker room teasing, overheard conversations. Nobody's actually taught what good sex really is. So everyone just assumes that size equals skill, which, spoiler alert, it absolutely does not. In fact, I've had male clients who were so anxious about their size that they couldn't enjoy sex at all. One guy told me I was always avoiding foreplay and rushing through intercourse. I feel like if I don't get to penetration fast, she'll notice I'm not as big as she expects. Can you imagine how heartbreaking that is? This is a man who wants to connect, wants to love, wants to be present, but his body shame is louder than his desire. And women? We are affected too, just in different ways. We've been fed these fantasies of earth shattering, toe curling sex that comes from being filled up by some unrealistically large partner. We are told that bigger means better, and if we are not turned on by that, something's wrong with us. I once had a client, Roshni, who came to me because she thought that she was broken. She said, I don't get excited by penetration. I feel more with touch, kissing, energy. Is that weird? And I had to literally tell her, girl, that's normal. That's how most women are wired. Your arousal isn't broken, your expectations are. Most women do not climax from penetration alone. In fact, studies say only about 15 to 20% do, which means for the other 80 to 85%, we need more than a penis, no matter what the size is. And get this, there's so much pressure to fake satisfaction, to boost egos, to not make him feel bad. So we moan louder, we exaggerate. We say things like, oh my god, you're so big, because we think that's what we should say. But all of this creates a false reality, a cycle of silence, shame, and shallow satisfaction. Let's break that, shall we? Because the truth is, the mind is the biggest sex organ. Confidence, vulnerability, emotional safety, they all impact how we give and receive pleasure. So if you're listening right now and you're someone who's felt insecure about your body, or if you faked it, stayed quiet, or downplayed your needs just to avoid bruising someone's ego, this is your reminder. You are not broken. You are not difficult. You are not too much or not enough. You are just waiting for someone, or maybe even yourself, to meet you at the level of honesty and intimacy that you deserve. Let's shift the focus from what do I look like to how do I connect? Because sex isn't a performance, it's a conversation, a dance, a shared adventure. And trust me, a partner who sees you, holds you, listens to you will always be better than one who just measures up. Okay, so now that we've lovingly kicked the size myth out of the bedroom, let's get to the real question everyone should be asking. What actually makes sex satisfying? Because let's be honest, most people don't even know. They've been too busy chasing the highlight reel version of sex. The porn scenes, the fantasy novels, the Instagram soft porn reels with hands on necks and candles everywhere. But real, soul shaking, melt in my bones kind of sex? That comes from intention, connection, and presence. Let's break this down. Emotional safety. I know, it's not the sexiest word, but hear me out. When someone feels safe, their body opens up. Literally, muscles relax, breath deepens, the nervous system calms, and that's when the pleasure flows. I had a woman once tell me, I didn't know I could feel this much until I stopped worrying about how I looked. Why? Because her partner made her feel adored, not judged. That's the magic. When a woman feels emotionally held, her body becomes a playground, not a performance. The second important thing is foreplay. Actual foreplay. Not three kisses and a boob grab. I mean real, drawn out, simmering foreplay. This includes teasing, eye contact, gentle exploration, building anticipation. You know what's better than penetration? Being desired, being worshipped, being touched like someone is discovering sacred ground. Foreplay isn't a warm up, it's half the show. And in many cases, it's the main event. Let me give you a client story. Tanya, a high achieved entrepreneur, came to me saying, sex feels mechanical. We do it because we are supposed to. I asked her, when was the last time he took his time? She paused, then whispered, I don't think he ever has. So we worked on slowing down. She had a conversation with her partner. They tried eye gazing for 5 minutes before even touching each other. And she came back glowing. Meeta, she said, it was the first time I cried after sex. In a good way. I felt seen. Thank you so much for guiding us. That's what intimacy does. It softens, deepens, and awakens. The third important thing is communication, because communication is equal to chemistry. If you can't talk about it, you can't truly enjoy it. Sexual compatibility. Sexual compatibility isn't just we like the same position. It's being able to say, slower please. That feels amazing. Can you do more of that? Let's try something new tonight. Silence is the biggest killer of great sex. One of the hottest things you can hear in bed. What do you like? It shows care, curiosity, and confidence. And if you're the one who usually stays quiet, start small. Try, can I tell you something that turns me on? Or, I've been thinking about this fantasy lately. Trust me, your body will thank you when your voice joins the party, and so will your partner. Presence over performance, another important aspect. We need to stop treating sex like a checklist. It's not kiss, touch, thrust, orgasm, sleep. It's connection, it's play, it's art, it's exploration. And the best lovers aren't the ones with the best bodies. They are the ones who are fully there. Not thinking about how they look, not rushing to finish, not competing with their own ego, just present, responsive, curious. When someone is with you, really with you, every second becomes delicious. Even a fingertip on your collarbone can make you gasp. You don't need fancy toys or 10 on 10 positions from Cosmo. You need attention, intention, playfulness, and a willingness to learn your partner like a love language. So, does size matter? Maybe a little for some people sometimes. But you know what matters more? A curious mind, an honest conversation, a connected heart, a present body. If you bring these to the bedroom, it won't matter what size you are, what age you are, what shape you are. You will just be unforgettable. All right, loves. Now it's time for my favorite part of the episode, your questions. Because you always bring the real, the raw, and the stuff that no one else talks about out loud. So let's dive in. The first question: my partner is self conscious about his size. How can I reassure him? This one comes up a lot. Here's the truth: most men have grown up being told that size is the ultimate measure of their worth in bed. So, of course, they carry that pressure. But here's what you can do: instead of just saying size doesn't matter, focus on what does matter. Tell him how his touch makes you feel. Tell him you love the way he looks at you. Tell him that when he slows down and listens to your body, that's what drives you wild. Reassurance isn't just words, it's experience. So show him, let him feel that he's enough. Because when a man feels sexually confident, his presence gets bigger. And that is way hotter than any number. The second question: is it okay to talk about size preferences with a partner? Short answer: yes. Longer answer: yes, but with kindness, empathy, and timing. If you're bringing it up to shame, compare, or fix someone, that's a no. But if you're sharing desires, curiosities, or just opening a loving conversation about what turns you on, absolutely yes. Intimacy grows when honesty enters the room. So, if something's on your mind, don't let it fester in silence. Talk gently, curiously. Make it a turn on, not a turn off. Say something like, can I share a fantasy with you? Or, I love it when you do this, and I've been curious about trying that. Most partners are more open than you think. They just need to feel safe, not judged. So it's okay to have that conversation with your partner. The third question: he thinks that bigger means better. I don't agree, but he won't believe me. This one is a classic. So many men are convinced that unless they are a certain size, they can't be great lovers. It's heartbreaking and completely false. Here's what I always say: don't try to convince him, let him experience it. Celebrate the things that he does well. Let your body give him feedback. Moan when it's slow, whisper when it is deep. Guide his hand, move with him. Say, the way you touched me just now, better than any porn scene. Let him rewire his pleasure script. We are not here to boost egos, we are here to build real confidence rooted in connection, not comparison. All right, that's a wrap on our listener Q&A today. If you've got any question that you've been shy to ask, drop it anonymously or slide it into my DMs. I love hearing from you. And remember, there's no such thing as a silly or shameful question when it comes to love, intimacy, and pleasure. We are unlearning, we are growing, we are getting unapologetically turned on by truth. Now let's wrap this juicy episode up, shall we? We've peeled back the layers, debunked some myths, answered your bold questions, and if there's one thing I want you to take away, it's this: size might show up on stage, but it is not the star of the show. Pleasure is a team effort, and the real MVPs? Emotional connection, communication, curiosity, touch, trust, presence, and technique. Because let's be honest, a larger size doesn't automatically mean better sex. Just like having expensive kitchen equipment doesn't mean that you're a five-star chef. it's what you do with it. Intimacy isn't a porn scene. It's a real, beautiful, sometimes messy, always evolving dance between two people who are willing to explore. So here's your call to action this week. If you're someone who's ever felt not enough because of size, let that go. You are not defined by one body part. You are defined by how you show up with intention, with care, with presence. And if you're someone who's bought into the myth that bigger is better, then challenge that belief. Explore what really turns you on. You might be surprised how much power lies in connection, not inches. Start having real conversations with your partner, with yourself, because satisfaction isn't found in size, it's found in safety, sensuality, and shared pleasure. That's it for today, love bugs. If this episode made you think differently or feel seen, share it with a friend or lover or someone who's still stressing about these wrong things. And remember, the most satisfying sex is the one where both people feel fully met, not measured. See you next week on the Love Soul Connection podcast, where we keep it raw, real, and radically liberating. Take care.